Welcome to the Texas Data Literacy Program. The Office of the Chief Data Officer and the Texas Department of Information Resources are proud to offer this education series, beginning with this course, Introduction to Data Literacy. We hope you will find this a valuable resource as you begin your journey to becoming more data literate. As always, thank you for your continued support of the Texas Statewide Data Program. This program would not be possible without the time and support of our state agency and institutions of higher education partners. The Office of the Chief Data Officer would like to thank the following partners for their knowledge and expertise to help develop this course. We also want to acknowledge our colleagues at the Texas Department of Information Resources for their support and contributions to this program. By the end of this course, you will be able to define data literacy and why it is important to your role and job responsibilities. Understand the difference between information producers and information consumers, and understand the core competencies needed to be data literate. Let's talk about why it is important to be data literate. Data and information are being created constantly. Every time an email is sent, a website is visited, a vehicle registration is renewed, or a baby is born, new data and information are generated. Texas state agencies and institutions of higher education are awash in data. Organizations and their employees must understand what data exists under their protection and what their responsibilities are, in order to be good stewards of this strategic asset. As a strategic asset, the true value of data lies in an organization's ability to meaningfully engage with it and to extract insights from it to drive business strategy. Organizations and their employees, regardless of their role, must be consistent in how they manage, analyze, and communicate with data to get the most out of their data. Accurate and timely business decisions depend on employees across the organization knowing how to read, understand, work with, and communicate with data using a consistent common language. They must be data literate. Data literate organizations are those that operate with data embedded in core decision-making processes, where data is valued by organizational leaders and line employees alike, and where intentional and effective efforts to improve and sustain data literacy are prioritized with activities that build capacity, ideally with a comprehensive data literacy program. A data literate individual can articulate a problem that can potentially be solved using data, understand the data sources involved, check the adequacy and fitness of data involved, interpret the results of an analysis and extract insights, make decisions based on insights, and explain the value generated with a use case. It is important to emphasize that not everyone within the organization needs to be a data scientist to be data literate. Each type of data user within an organization has a different relationship with data and requires different levels of fluency to become empowered to do their best work. At the most basic level, there are two types of data users: information producers and information consumers. Information producers, such as IT professionals and data analysts, need the ability to work with raw data, collecting, cleaning, and transforming it before performing statistical analyses and creating visualizations and interpretations of the data. Information consumers, such as business unit staff, managers, and leadership, need the ability to take the data prepared by information producers and further analyze and understand the information to make business decisions. Within each of these data user roles, there may be different levels of analytic complexity and data fluency needed. Some roles, such as business unit staff and data stewards, may identify as both an information producer and an information consumer. All data users, regardless of their role in the organization, need to be competent in certain key areas to be data literate. Being data literate requires the development of 6 core competencies. Understanding data. Knowing what is meant by data and how it impacts business decisions and outcomes. Finding and obtaining data. The awareness of available data sources and which sources are most relevant to answer particular questions. Reading data. The ability to interpret data presented in multiple formats and the ability to evaluate data and results critically, rather than taking them at face value. Managing data. The awareness of data management principles, including data quality, master data and metadata management, records management, and privacy and security. Using data. The ability to prepare data for analysis, analyze data appropriately, and use the necessary tools, as well as understanding the ethical use of data. And finally, communicating with data. Understanding how to use data to support a larger narrative that is intended to communicate a message or story to a particular audience. Let's talk about the first core competency, understanding data. Data can be found in a variety of formats and sources. Quantitative or structured data is information that can be categorized and counted, and is often given a numerical value. Structured data is easily analyzed, easily read by computers, and can answer questions such as how many, how often, and what kind. Bubble or check boxes on a form, identification number such as Social Security number or help desk ticket number, and invoice amounts are examples of structured data. Qualitative or unstructured data is descriptive and often expressed in terms of language rather than numbers, and cannot easily be counted or measured. Unstructured data is often used to investigate the why of a structured data analysis. Emails, videos, images, audio recordings, interview responses, and free-form text surveys are examples of unstructured data. With some effort and the right tools, an information producer can often transform unstructured data into a structured form so it can be more easily analyzed. Transactional data is collected in the course of business operations and comes from systems designed to process events, such as invoices and payments, work plans and activity records, human resources records, eligibility determination and enrollment, or other mission-critical processes. Data from these sources can be structured or unstructured. Analytical data is collected for the purpose of measuring impact or outcomes to inform decision-making. Information collected from surveys and questionnaires and focus groups are examples of analytic data. Because it is readily available, transactional data may be used for purposes outside of the original operational intent for collecting the data. It is often used for reporting or other more complex analytic purposes to measure the impact of programs and inform business strategy. Reusing data, rather than collecting new data, is a good data management practice. However, it also means the questions that can be answered and the decisions that can be made using the data at hand may be limited. Let's look at an example describing data's impact on informing business decisions around provision of services. The COVID-19 pandemic disrupted school meal services, and many families lost access to free or reduced-price meals through the schools. With federal funding, Texas Health and Human Services Commission issues food benefits to families affected by the loss of this service through the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer Program, or PEBT. However, HHSC does not own all the data required to determine eligibility for the program. The Texas Department of Agriculture provides data on which schools participate in the National School Lunch Program, and the Texas Education Agency provides data on which students are enrolled in those schools. A cooperative data-sharing effort between these three agencies and combining data collected from different transactional sources are essential for determining eligibility for the PEBT program. Now you have an understanding of some of the different types of data, where it might come from, and how it can be used to inform business decisions. However, to use data to drive business strategy, data users must know what data is available, both internally and externally, and where and how to get it. The next core competency is finding and obtaining data. Every state agency and institution of higher education creates or obtains data specific to the mission, needs, and operations of that organization. Therefore, each organization is responsible for making sure the data it owns is discoverable or findable by its data users. Data catalogs, data asset inventories, and business glossaries are some of the tools used to increase data's findability. These topics will be covered in more detail in a future data literacy course. As we saw in our previous example, data required for driving business strategy may not be owned by the organization that needs to use it. You may need data collected and owned by another agency to identify clients receiving services across multiple programs. In some cases, you may need to use census data for population numbers to calculate rates. When obtaining data from external sources, you need to be aware of data sharing best practices, ethical uses of data, and when legal processes are required. These topics will be covered in more detail in a future data literacy course. In order to encourage transparency and data sharing opportunities, the 87th Texas Legislative Session passed Senate Bill 475, directing each Texas state agency with more than 150 full-time employees to post a minimum of 3 high-value datasets to the Open Data portal. Open data refers to information that can be used, reused, and redistributed by anyone. Data found on the Open Data portal is available at no cost and can be downloaded or simply viewed online. Open data is made accessible in a format that is easily consumed and can be read, filtered, sorted, manipulated, and combined with other data. The Open Data portal can be found at data.texas.gov. More information on the Open Data portal can be found on our YouTube channel. Now you understand about different formats and sources of data, and the importance of being able to find the data you need. The next data literacy core competency is reading data. Reading data means understanding which statistical procedure or visualization is appropriate to use for answering specific questions, as well as how to interpret the results. For example, what is a statistical average? There are several measures of central tendency, mean, median, and mode, and each gives you a slightly different take on what is considered the average. Often, more than one type of average is presented, along with the range of numbers and the standard deviation to give a clearer picture of the distribution. Correlation, another common statistic, is a calculation indicating the strength of a relationship between two things. It is an indication of a relationship, but not necessarily a causal relationship. Correlations tell you where something warrants further exploration to determine the why or cause of the relationship. Additional data and analyses are often required to answer the question of causality. More information on foundational statistics will be included in a future course in the Texas Data Literacy Program. What is the best type of visualization to tell your data story? Graphs are not just interchangeable pretty pictures. They are designed to convey different types of information. If you are interested in change over time, line charts or bar charts are appropriate choices. If you are interested in part-to-whole comparisons, you might choose pie charts, bar charts, or stacked charts. If you are interested in a distribution, box plots, histograms, and heat maps are all good choices. Best practices to employ when creating visualizations to avoid misinterpretation of the results will be covered in more detail in a future course in the Texas Data Literacy Program. When presented with data, whether you are an information consumer or producer, you should ask yourself certain questions before making a decision based on the data. For example, you may ask, is the data source appropriate? Are data sources missing? What is the quality of the data? Are there potential anomalies or inconsistencies in the data? Is the analysis or visualization appropriate to answer the question? Can action be taken, or is additional information needed? Increasing your data literacy will enhance your critical thinking about data. Knowing what questions to ask and how to interpret the answers allows you to be more confident when using data to make business decisions. Let's continue by discussing the next core competency: managing data. Data management is the development, execution, and supervision of plans, programs, and practices that deliver, control, protect, and enhance the value of data and information assets throughout their life cycles. Data management enables organizations to make consistent, informed decisions, establish more efficient, effective, and better quality services, ensure the integrity of data assets, and ensure the privacy and confidentiality of stakeholder data. When data is not properly managed, there is waste, inefficiency, missed opportunities, and lost constituent and legislative trust. There are several components to data management. They include data governance, data quality, metadata, reference and master data, and data security, among others. The data management components will be covered in more detail in future courses in the Texas Data Literacy Program. You can also find information about each one of the components in the Texas Data Management Framework Fast Start Learning Guide, which can be found on the DIR website. While certain roles within an organization are responsible and accountable for certain components of data management, everyone who touches or uses data in an organization is responsible for data management in some way. Who does this include? Any person who uses an organization's data and information, whether it be raw data or prepared reports. Any person who works in any facet of managing the organization's data and information. All levels of business management leadership. And all levels of technical management leadership. Collaboration between leadership in the data management, information technology, and business areas is essential for a data management program to be successful. More information on roles and responsibilities will be covered in a future course later in the Data Literacy Foundations track. Now that you've been introduced to the concept of data management, its components, and who is responsible for it, we can move on to the fifth data literacy core competency, Using data. While some reporting can be done using data from transactional or operational data sources, those sources typically are not designed for more in-depth analytic purposes. Additionally, data needed for an analysis may come from multiple sources. In these cases, before any analysis can begin, data must go through an extract, transform, and load process, or ETL. The first step is to extract the required data elements from the source systems and place the resulting data files into a common staging area. After data has been extracted, it can be transformed to improve data quality and create consistency by fixing data that is inaccurate, incomplete, or inconsistently formatted, and to remove duplicate records. Finally, that prepared data must be loaded onto a platform, such as a database, data mart, or data warehouse, so that it is accessible to those who need to use the data for analysis and reporting. Sometimes this step occurs before the transform step, and the process is called ELT. Once this process is complete, more in-depth analysis, visualization, and reporting can begin. There are 4 categories of analytics, and what analysis you choose depends on the questions you need to answer. Descriptive analysis tells you what happened in the past. Aggregate or summary statistics are useful for benchmarking performance, identifying patterns and trends, and reporting on operations. Diagnostic analysis helps you understand why it happened. It allows you to drill down deeper to examine multiple factors that may impact an event, and to determine which of those factors are the most influential. Some techniques for diagnostic analysis include correlation, regression, and trend analysis. Predictive analysis tells you what is most likely to happen in the future. Once you know what happened and why, predictive analysis can forecast future outcomes and the likelihood of those outcomes happening. Some techniques for predictive analysis include time series analysis and forecasting using data mining and predictive modeling, and it often combines multiple data sources and statistical techniques. Prescriptive analysis suggests what you can do to impact future outcomes, including what actions have the highest potential for the best outcome. This type of analysis builds off the results of the other 3 types of analyses. A robust, mature data management program is necessary to enable prescriptive analyses. While spreadsheet tools are appropriate for many descriptive and diagnostic analyses and visualizations, more complex analyses often require the use of statistical and business intelligence tools. Predictive and prescriptive analyses often require programming skills and the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence tools. No matter what kind of analysis you use, practicing ethical behavior is essential throughout the data lifecycle. Data ethics are the norms of behavior that promote appropriate judgments and accountability when creating, acquiring, managing, or using data, with the goals of protecting civil liberties, ensuring the protection of privacy and confidentiality of individuals, and maximizing the public good. It is important to note data-related activity can be lawful but still be unethical. In other words, legal compliance does not guarantee ethical behavior. The Federal Data Strategy outlines 7 data ethics tenets, and you should keep these tenets in mind when interacting with data. They are: uphold applicable statutes, regulations, professional practices, and ethical standards. Respect the public, individuals, and communities. Respect privacy and confidentiality. Act with honesty, integrity, and humility. Hold oneself and others accountable. promote transparency, and stay informed of developments in the fields of data management and data science. Data ethics will be covered in more detail in a future course in the Texas Data Literacy Program. So far in this course, we've talked about the first 5 data literacy core competencies. We've talked about what data is and how it can be used to impact business decisions, the importance of being able to find or obtain necessary data, and some things to know when reading or interpreting data. We've also discussed components of managing data and who is responsible for it, as well as things to consider when using data. Let's talk now about the 6th and final data literacy core competency, communicating with data. Data literacy enables organizations and individuals to speak about data in a consistent, common language. Leadership and program staff need to be able to articulate the questions they need answered. Technical staff need to answer those questions in language the customer understands. Building effective operational relationships between business teams and data and technical teams begins with improving communication with each other. The first step is to have a mutual understanding of the mission, goals, and expected results. If you are an information consumer, when making a request for data and information or a technical solution, provide context. Communicate the business mission and goals, as well as the desired outcome, report, or impact. If you are an information producer, make sure you understand the business mission and goals, as well as the desired outcome or impact when approaching a data analysis, dashboard development, or technical solution. If this information is not known or provided, ask for it. The second step to improving communication about data is to know your audience. Think like your audience, talk like your audience. If you are an information consumer, understand that information producers need the minutiae. The more detail you provide, the better. Develop a fundamental understanding of statistics and visualizations. And finally, don't assume the data or technical experts fully understand the business domain. Use common language. If you are an information producer, understand that information consumers often need the big picture. They need the high-level overview. Understand the technical abilities of the consumer or audience. Some will be more technical than others. Finally, don't assume the customers fully understand the data domain. Avoid using technical language and use common language instead. The third step to improving communication about data is to know the domain. If you are an information consumer, educate yourself on the data domain. You should know what data you own or is available, and what kinds of questions can be answered with that data, as well as what questions can't. You should also have an awareness of the technical challenges that might impact the level of effort and time required to have your questions answered. Consider having conversations around priorities and levels of effort necessary to generate business value. If you are an information producer, educate yourself on the business domain the data represents, so questions from program staff are understood and appropriate analyses can be performed. You should also be upfront with the level of effort and time required to prepare the data. Consider having conversations around priorities and levels of effort necessary to generate business value. You have now completed the Introduction to Data Literacy course. During this course, you have learned what data literacy is and why it is important to your role and job responsibilities, the difference between information producers and information consumers, and the core competencies of data literacy.